platforms. My name is Matthew Olson. I am the Director of Network Development for the Montana Chamber of Commerce, and we are grateful to be hosting Kelly Cresswell of Reach Higher Montana and Jason Butcher of the Montana Youth Apprenticeship Partnership today to talk about how to improve your talent pipeline through the use of apprenticeships, internships, other work-based learning opportunities that I'm sure they'll talk about. I'm going to turn it over to you, Kelly. Thanks so much for your support through our Envision initiative and being members of the Chamber. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for this opportunity to speak with everyone today about youth apprenticeship in particular. My name is Kelly Cresswell. I'm the Executive Director at Reach Higher Montana, and I'm located in Helena. Jason, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Jason Butcher, and I'm the Outreach Director with Reach Higher Montana and also work with the Montana Youth Apprenticeship Partnership.
Well, let's jump into it. If you have questions as we're moving along, feel free to pop those into the chat. We'll also share our contact information at the end. So if you think of something later, by all means, feel free to reach out to Jason or me or Cullen or Mike if you have any other questions about Reach Higher Montana or the Montana Youth Apprenticeship Partnership.
Kelly, I have a question. Are you going to be recording this?
Yes, it's being recorded.
Thanks.
You bet. Okay. There we go. So by way of background, I wanted to briefly introduce Reach Higher Montana. We are a nonprofit organization headquartered in Helena, and as you heard in the introductions, we have staff located throughout the state. Our mission is to help students strategically pursue educational opportunities. There are a couple of things I'd like to point out about that mission. You'll notice that we did not say to help students pursue college education or pursue bachelor's degrees, although we think those are fine avenues for preparing for one's future. We really are concerned with helping students figure out what their particular path is and what options they have to pursue that path, which includes all kinds of post-secondary opportunities, be they certificates, 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, a workforce training program, or yes, youth apprenticeships. Our core areas of work are supporting dual enrollment opportunities for Montana students, student services such as helping with career exploration or scholarship searches, network support, so building coalitions like the Montana Youth Apprenticeship Partnership or supporting groups like the Montana College Attainment Network, who are also partnering to help more students pursue their post-secondary success. And then outreach to students. So we have folks like Cullen and Mike who work directly with schools in their regions to support all of this work. Back in 2019, we were invited to be part of a partnership with a number of partners to pursue funding from the Partnership to Advance Youth Apprenticeship to launch youth apprenticeship opportunities in Montana. We were fortunate enough to be one of the funded proposals for that project and have received lots of technical assistance and programmatic support from some really great national level resources. We work very closely, of course, with the Partnership to Advance Youth Apprenticeship, also with New America Foundation, who's the intermediary for the funders supporting that work, CareerWise Colorado, which is a very well-established youth apprenticeship program in Colorado, JFF, which works on policy issues for apprenticeship generally, and a number of other grantee partners throughout the country who are all working on similar initiatives to build youth apprenticeship opportunities, helping students between the ages of 16 and 19 pursue apprenticeships. We currently have active apprenticeships in Billings. Those are nursing apprenticeships. The employer is St. John's United. The students who are in those apprenticeship opportunities earned their certified nurse assistant certificate while they were in high school because of some of the requirements for the nursing work itself. They are graduates from high school before they start their nursing apprenticeship. So they're working at St. John's United as CNAs. St. John's United is supporting those young people with assistance to pay their tuition as they work through nursing school. And as with all apprenticeship models, those students earn pay increases as they demonstrate competency and skill as they progress through their apprenticeship. We'll be launching information technology apprenticeships with 2 employers this spring, 1 employer in Bozeman and 1 in Helena. And the message that I'd like you to take from this very nascent work that we've done with youth apprenticeships is that this is a model that is time and true and tested. It's been used in the trades for a long, long time. It's been used in other parts of the world for hundreds of years. And really there are almost no shortage of occupations that can be prepared for through an apprenticeship. With youth apprenticeship, we're focused on helping students start this path, ideally in the summer before they start their senior year of high school, and helping them progress towards earning a high quality credential that prepares them for a livable wage career. So you heard some of the talk as we were coming on the call about concerns with workforce shortages. And I won't belabor this too much because you've all heard it and many of you are living it. There are a couple of different metrics that look at our workforce availability. So on the left-hand side of your screen, you have the workforce availability ratio, which is a measure from the US Chamber of Commerce. This calculation is actually from summer of 2019, but their data showed that we had 26,000 job openings and just over 22,000 workers. So that's just looking at people and positions. It's not looking at skill levels or preparation levels to be able to fill those jobs. Then if you look on the right-hand side of that screen, you can see what our projected job growth is in Montana. So just from people exiting the workforce, most likely through retirement, the Montana Department of Labor and Industry projects over 25,000 job openings annually, plus just under 4,000 new jobs that are created annually. So that's a gap of 29,316 job openings annually, and does not account for the transfers between positions of people currently in the workforce. That's about 33,000 jobs. But if we look just at that projected job growth and our available workers, you can see that the numbers simply don't match up. So Jason is going to talk a little bit about the talent pipeline mismatch a little bit more.
Okay, and thanks everyone for being here. I need to tell you, Kelly begged me to tell one of my dumb dad jokes before I got started, but I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stick to the subject matter. So maybe at the end, we'll get lucky enough and I can come up with a dad joke for you. But anyway, Kelly talked about the issue, the supply. Let's talk about the supply and the mismatch there. So for Montana students, 83% aspire to go on to education after high school, but only 56% actually enroll. Okay. Also, 71% plan to obtain a bachelor's degree, but as you all know, many high demand jobs don't require a bachelor's degree. And once students are in college, 27% of those in the Montana university system are enrolled in a 2-year college. So the solution that we're looking at, of course, is a youth apprenticeship. And what happens there, obviously, is we have a paid on-the-job learning. We have classroom-based instruction. We continue with ongoing assessment. And then we finish with an industry-recognized credential or college credits. So how do we get there? How does it work? Well, we work with the employer, and the employer would define what their need is, what they sense that they need for their organization, where they need that worker, and then again we work with them to set the pathway, to design a program, design a training program and a pathway to get there. We then work with the high schools to work with students, find those students that may be interested in that, and then match them with that employer. The next step then, once that student is matched with the employer, is they go through our training, which actually is the paid on-the-job training when they're actually working, and they continue that related classroom instruction through high school, through dual credit courses in high school possibly, or through college courses, depending on where that student is in their progression. We continually assess with the employer and assess that student against the skills and the standards that we've set forth with the employer. And the pay is then increased as that apprentice demonstrates that competency. Then we work a progression to increase the pay. And ultimately, the hope is that we will retain that student or that apprentice as a skilled worker. That student will also then get their high school diploma and then get a portable industry recognized credential.
So as the intermediary for the Montana Youth Apprenticeship Partnership, Reach Higher Montana works very closely, of course, with students, with our youth apprentices, with educators, because these are high school students becoming college students, and with the businesses who host these students. Some of the things that we can do as the intermediary are assist with student recruitment and being that liaison with the education partners and the employer. As Jason described, we can help with defining training plan development and launch services. We work with a number of education partners and are always willing to work with more to leverage existing programming. So we're not asking our colleges to develop new programs at all. We're using the resources and assets that are already there and helping students tap into those programs. We provide apprentice and employer training. Our youth apprentices complete an employability skills training that one of our partners, American Jobs for America's Youth, is providing for us. We can also provide training for mentors who support youth apprentices. So in addition to the student's supervisor on the job, ideally they will have a mentor assigned to them who can help them with things that would be outside of the supervisor-employee relationship while they're at work, to help them be successful, to understand, how the culture works within a particular business, to understand where to go to ask for help. All of those kinds of things that, a supervisor can provide some of that, but it's another person who's there to support that apprentice. And then we provide ongoing program support. So, developing tools and modules that others can use to create more youth apprenticeship opportunities, reaching out to folks through presentations like this. Really whatever we need to do to expand the knowledge and awareness of what's available through youth apprenticeship in particular. Through our funding that we received through the Partnership to Advance Youth Apprenticeship, we are also very interested in working with employer associations who may have a workforce development professional on staff who could provide similar services for their particular members. So if that was, a healthcare association or a trades association that had somebody on staff who does this work, we can help support that position with some of the grant funding that we've received, as well as with some of the templates and processes that we've developed for the Montana Youth Apprenticeship Partnership. In that way, we hope to grow this opportunity well beyond the youth apprentices that are directly engaged in our program by, building the capacity of others who are also interested in supporting this work. So Jason drew the short straw and gets to talk about the hard questions. So I'm going to kick it back to Jason.
Yeah, thanks. So what does it cost? So what's my, as an employer would be asking, what's my investment? What's my return? Well, here it is. We do have, as in terms of an investment, we have a business participation fee, although that fee is very negotiable. We do have one written in, but again, very negotiable. The other cost for the employer is training costs for the apprentice and the wages for the apprentice. And again, those are things that we help as the intermediary help to work out with the employer and work through. The return, obviously, you're going to get an immediate workforce participant and retention for hard to fill positions. You're going to get increased workplace diversity, increased innovation, additional digital natives of the team, and organizational sustainability. You're going to get someone that you've trained as an employer, you've trained, and hopefully you're going to be able to retain and work in your field, and if not in your company. So frequently asked questions. So again, I'll just go through these and provide some answers. And then at the end, when we have time for questions, if you want some more clarification on things, we can certainly, Kelly will certainly give you that clarification. I'm just kidding. So is an apprenticeship just for the trades? No. I think we've talked about that, and apprenticeship can really be for any industry, any field. You know, it's just up to us to help that employer work through those obstacles and create that pathway. How does a youth apprenticeship differ from an internship or a pre-internship? So I'm going to just a couple different ways. You know, an internship typically is a short term, 3 to 6 months, where an apprenticeship is 1 to 5 years. An internship can be paid or unpaid, where an apprenticeship is going to be paid with progression. An internship supports classroom instruction, where an apprenticeship also supports classroom instruction, but also supports structured on-the-job training. An internship is focused on career exploration because of that short term, and where an apprenticeship is focused on skill and career attainment. And an internship, many times there's no certification at the end. With an apprenticeship, there's a portable industrial recognized certification at the end. Do apprenticeships have to register with the state of Montana? We leave that up to the employer as the employer's choice if they choose to do so, and help with that process if that's the choice of the employer. And the last frequently asked question that we have is, will my workers' comp insurance rates increase if I hire a minor? And the answer to that is no. Workers' comp covers every employee equal regardless of age. The premium for workers' compensation is calculated based on the payroll, type of work, and the experience of the employer. Age and years of experience of the worker are not calculated into the workers' compensation policy.
So how would we get started? There's obviously 2 paths to this. There's the employer path and the student path. So Jason covered this a little bit, but this all starts with the employer. So what is the employer's workforce need? Do they have an entry-level position that maybe is difficult for them to fill, that would be suitable for a youth apprentice who's between the ages of 16 and 19 to start in as they're working on their industry recognized credential or their college credits? What training program would the student need to complete in order to prepare for their ultimate position within that company? Where does it exist? Does it exist locally? Is it something that's available through online delivery, through maybe a different educational institution than the one in the employer's hometown? Are there other types of training, in particular with information technology? We see some of this, that there may be you know, some other training available through CompTIA or Google or Microsoft that maybe is more applicable for that particular employer. So where can we access that training? And then a commitment from the employer. Once we've identified what is the position, what is the required training, the employer commits to the youth apprentice for a good amount of time. So again, speaking to those differences between an internship and an apprenticeship, this is a multi-year commitment on both the part of the employer and the student. On the student side of things, David Pafford, when he gave his introduction, said that he works with some students who are pretty focused and driven on what their career goals are going to be. So that's an ideal student for a youth apprenticeship. These are students who have chosen a pathway, and nobody's obligated to spend the rest of their life doing what they thought they were going to do when they were 17. They're pretty committed to whatever that pathway may be, and pretty serious that that's what they want to pursue. They demonstrate readiness. As I said, we provide them with an employability skills training. They also demonstrate to the employer that they're ready. It's the employer's decision to hire this apprentice or not. We will do what we are able to do to support that apprentice so they can be successful, but it's ultimately the employer's decision to hire. And then the student makes that same multi-year commitment that the employer has made. They commit to with upholding the standards that that employer has in place. They commit to pursuing their studies to the best of their ability. They commit to, following the rules and policies of their employer and to sticking with this program through completion. As with most programs, not everybody is going to make it all the way through, and that's kind of a reality of life. But what we are really looking for with youth apprenticeships are those students who are really focused and driven, who are mature, and who are committed to this career path and want to use this as a jumping off point to be successful. I think one of the great things about youth apprenticeship is that it allows students to not have to choose between pursuing post-secondary education or going to work. This allows them to blend both in a very focused, targeted way that helps them, maybe have greater affordability and access to post-secondary education, and shows them that they can have a really great career in Montana, earning a living wage in a career that is meaningful to them and their interests. So that is the end of our prepared slides. Jason covered some of the questions that we hear frequently, but we'd like to open it up for more questions if anybody has them. Oh, we've got some in the chat here. Can MYAP be a good vehicle for school districts to take advantage of OPI and 2021 legislators' focus on increasing occupational training in Montana? Well, I think so. Jason is a former school administrator, so I am going to kick that over to Jason to weigh in on that with what his thoughts are.
Yeah, I like to call myself a recovering school superintendent. But can MYAP be a good vehicle for, I'm just reading this again to make sure I understand. I certainly think it could, David. Again, right now we're starting with the employers, and that's our challenge, is finding employers in communities that are willing and ready to, and I think it's just that they're not aware, and that's why I'm glad that we were able to do this today, because maybe get some more word out. But I think that it certainly is an avenue for for workforce development throughout the state, and to help with that legislative focus, and I know that OPI certainly has a focus on workforce development as well through the CTE division, and so yeah, I think it certainly could be a great vehicle.
I wonder too, with some of the funds that are available through transformational learning grants and those kinds of things, if there are opportunities to expand CTE opportunities, especially in our smaller communities where sometimes those are more limited, to really align with what the businesses are looking for. So I think that's a great question, David. Thanks for asking.
Right. Very good.
And Deb Wagner had her hand up. Deb.
Actually, I didn't have my hand up. You just missed me on the introductions.
Oh, I'm sorry, Deb.
That's okay.
Would you like
No
to
problem.
introduce yourself now?
Well, I guess so. My name's Deb Wagner. I work for Central Plumbing and Heating. I'm the apprentice coordinator. And we have a fairly extensive apprentice program for sheet metal, plumbing, and pipe fitting here. The workforce is slim out there. So we're really looking at trying to get it, maybe try to get involved a little bit earlier. And I think our goal is possibly try to mold our apprentices a little more and get them in a more malleable state. So it might be more conducive to do that when they're straight out of high school. We're also very aware of the fact that there's a number of kids out there, like you said, that don't really want to go into a college or university and are looking more towards the trades. So we would just like to try to get involved with them a little earlier on.
Excellent. Well, we're really glad you're here, Deb, and I'm sorry I missed you on the introductions.
Oh, don't worry about it. Thank you.
We also had a question about whether the slides and the recording would be available afterwards. Yes, they will be. Oh, and Randy jumped on. He didn't have video or microphone available. Randy Shop is the director of the Bighorn County Museum in Hardin. So we're really glad you're with us, Randy. Any other questions that anyone has? You don't have to put them in the chat if you don't want to. You can just unmute and ask.
I can take this one, Kelly, too. So another question from David is, will MYAP be willing to help more rural districts with K-12 enrollment of less than 200? We graduate 10 to 20 seniors each year. And my answer is absolutely. We would look forward and welcome that. Again, the challenge is finding those employers who are interested and willing to take on a youth apprentice. But David, absolutely, if you've got some employers there, we'll come out and see you in Knoxon and work with you and work with the school district and help to get that all established.
Jason, this is David. I really appreciate it. Can I step in unmuted so I can stop typing so many in the chat?
You bet.
Okay, so to work with students, there's going to be some legal requirements, background checks, fingerprints, workers' comp, liability. Will you folks help the employer understand that those are not showstoppers and can be worked through so that they're not so reluctant to bring that student on?
Do you want that one, Kelly, or you want?
Oh, I thought he was asking you directly.
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
That's okay.
Yeah, yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Kelly.
Yes, we absolutely will. I think, you know, sometimes when we're talking about work-based learning opportunities, from a program side, we can get maybe caught up in the name, whether it's apprenticeship or internship or whatever. The great thing about apprenticeships is that those are actual employees of that employer. So they would handle that in exactly the same way they handle that when they hire anyone else. But we absolutely will help in any way that we can. We have access to a number of resources, both in Montana and throughout the country in this space, who I think can be very helpful if there are some unique situations. You know, obviously there are rules and laws about child labor and employment that have to be followed. So, you know, we can't work around that. But certainly we can help businesses see that this is absolutely a viable opportunity. The other thing that I wanted to add, David, in addition to Jason's answer to your question about working with rural districts, our employer that we have in Bozeman, who I mentioned will be hiring an IT youth apprentice, is very interested in hiring remote workers, remote youth apprentices, which is really interesting for us. You know, we're fairly new to this work to begin with, and that will be a new experience for us as well. But they are an IT company that has gone fully remote for the most part during the pandemic, and they would like to hire youth apprentices who also may be remote. So that's another opportunity for some of our smaller communities.
And I was going to say too, David, the Montana Department of Labor and Industry put out a great work-based learning myth and fact sheet, myth versus fact sheet, that I believe we have your contact information, and we will forward that to you so that you can, and that answer, I mean, that will address some of those questions you have about the concerns from employers.
Okay, and then one more, if I may, then I promise. Now we'll ask a student to consider something like this, and we have the flexibility to graduate them with appropriate credits. So what is the relationship between your support and earning school credits? I'm really not sure even if that's is that up to us, I guess, and not up to MYAP and in your planning process and your design?
Yeah, if I'm understanding your question correctly, we're not going to get in the middle of a school and what a school requires for credits for graduation. Okay. That's not our role. Our role is to work with that employer and with that school to hopefully help establish that pathway. And if we can work with the school and you know, maybe get a little bit creative, maybe the student had a 7th period study hall And we work with that school that, well, could that student, rather than go to study hall, go on to their employment or whatever the case. I mean, there's tons of different scenarios, but our place is not to get in the school, in the school's business, I guess, of credits and graduation and those types of things. That student and would still need to meet those requirements.
Oh, okay. You can tell I'm getting over my skis. So I'm gonna mute myself and just listen. Thank you.
Yeah, no, great questions, David. Thank you.
Those are excellent questions, David. Absolutely. Any other questions from anyone?
Chris asked if we could post the myth and fact sheet. See, Chris, you're already pushing my technology skills here. So maybe what we can do is make sure we get this to Peyton and Matthew, and maybe they can help us get it onto the posted to this recording, or get it posted to somehow. Or Kelly's more techie than me, so I don't know.
Just barely. So I can commit to this, Chris. We can email that sheet out to everybody.
Yeah, we can email. I can do that.
Emails, so we can do that.
Yeah.
If not, I'm sure Matt and I can figure something out too.
Okay.
Thanks, Peyton.
Awesome. Thank you, Peyton.
I have a question about just as far as incentives for employers, not just, I understand the benefits of internship and apprenticeship. What about incentives that through Montana Registered Apprenticeship, I know there are some tax incentives and grant incentives for new employers first dealing with apprenticeships. So there's some grant possibilities there for them. Does this program have anything like that could work in conjunction with those to incentivize those employers?
Sure, that's a really great question, Stephen. So youth apprenticeships that are registered with the state also qualify for all of those same tax benefits and grant programs that you mentioned. In addition, we try to be really creative at turning over whatever stones may be in the way to figure out how we can make this workable for employers, whether that is ensuring that the youth apprentices complete their financial aid forms when they're ready to transition fully to their 2-year program, because that lowers the training cost that's necessary to pay for that related technical instruction. We also have some funds available through our grant that can help with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that might look like providing some more in-depth training for someone in a non-traditional occupation to serve as a mentor for someone similar who's pursuing that same occupation. So maybe as an example, it's a male nurse serving as a mentor to a male youth apprentice in a nursing program. So we have some of those kinds of resources that we can access. What we don't have access to are dollars to pay wages for the youth apprentice. Those are pretty hard to come by, but we do everything that we can to help reduce the training costs that the employer would have to lay out.
Just wondering if anyone in the maybe Montana JMG, if any of their programs could work along with that as well. So
Yeah.
I know we have someone that works in when our office is open.
Yeah, the Youth Apprenticeship Partnership is a really broad group. We have a number of employers, education providers, industry associations who are part of the partnership, and it's really available to anyone who's interested in learning more and partnering with us to figure out how to make this work. I think Montanans by nature are really good at being creative thinkers and using the resources that we have and creating something larger than maybe anybody thought was possible. Using those relationships and resources and partnerships to make it happen. So we welcome your involvement, Stephen, and that of JMG and anyone else who wants to be involved.